They are forgotten, ignored, and often traumatized for life. They live in the shadow of their parents who live with an undetected mental illness. They are helpless, ashamed, alone, and scared, and they often don't know how or where to seek help. We call them invisible children. The goal of this video is to help the frontline social service provider better recognize the effects that a parent's mental illness can have on their children and to show how you can guide those parents into treatment. These are the stories of our invisible children.
I grew up with a father who had a mental illness, and we can't decide whether he had bipolar illness or just major depression. If he had bipolar, he was mostly depressed, but the hardest thing about him was that he was a Jekyll Hyde character. Sometimes he was wonderful. He was loving, he was generous, you know, I just adored him, I kind of worshiped him. But then he'd switch, and he'd be enraged, he'd be angry, he'd be violent, he would be out of control. And then the next minute he'd be okay again, and he'd sort of expect me just to be fine. He was suicidal most of my life.
My mother was mentally ill, and according to my father, he said it was paranoid schizophrenia. And as young as I can remember, she was always talking to herself. My older brother, who was about 8 years older than me, as far back as I can remember, he was a little different. You know, I can't pinpoint it at that time, but he was different. Eventually, he had a mental breakdown, and he became, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, the same thing as my mother.
My mom didn't know it at the time, but she was bipolar, and so she was always irritated or angry about every little thing. And whenever she was angry or irritated, we always got spankings for no reason. And it was usually with her hand, with a stick, or a belt, or anything that she could get her hands on, anything that was nearby. So it could be a book, a chair, it could be a bottle, it could be anything.
You know, he'd do things like go in the basement and shoot off guns. He had a huge gun collection. He would, when he would burn the trash in the backyard and it would catch fire. I mean, he did all these crazy things. And so living with somebody like that is you're always off balance because you never know which father you're going to get. And especially when you really love them and then you really hate them. And it, you know, it kind of destroys inside of you. He was hospitalized a couple of times. I remember my mother tricking him and saying, we're going to take you to the hospital for your asthma or something. And when she got there, she put him in the psych ward.
I'm sitting at the desk once in a while studying on the table, long table. My brother's across from me talking and laughing to himself. And my mother walks behind me, back and forth, talking to herself and laughing. And so the only way for me to survive was to just dream. And I would just go in dreamland. I'm pretending. I'm trying to study, but I'm thinking of playing baseball or being a cowboy, anything to get me out of there.
One night I came home, and my father was drunk, and he misread his watch, and he thought I was late. So he came after me. And I was lying on the bed, and he started attacking me, but I was able to kick him away. And my mother was standing there saying, no, no, don't do it, no, no, don't do it. But she was pathetic, you know, she didn't stop him. But I have dreams always about that.
My father used to bring home food for me and put it in the icebox. The thing is, my mother threw everything that someone put in the icebox, she would throw it away immediately. There was only bacon, eggs, ice water, and hot dogs in our icebox, nothing else.
She would give us lickings with a wooden stick, and so she would hit us anywhere. Like, she wouldn't just aim for the butt, or she would just aim anywhere. Like, she was like a mad woman when she had it. Or like when she had the belt, she wouldn't hit us with the belt, the strap. She would hit us with the buckle. And so she would just hit us anywhere, like our butt, our legs, our back, or if we were facing her, the front area. But yeah, it was just anything, and it was for broke.
So what happens is you start faking what life really is. You start pretending that you're okay. You start pretending that you can joke. You start pretending that, hey, I'm a funny guy. I can make fun. Hang around Roy. Roy's good to hang around with. Whereas inside, I'm crying. I'm crying. Like I don't belong here. I can remember at times thinking of, I think it's better if I'm not here. Maybe I should just, I used to think of committing suicide.
I didn't care anymore. Like, I felt like, my family's broken up, so what's the point, right? Like, why do I have to do good in school? Why do I have to listen to my teachers? Why do I have to listen to my aunties and uncles? Who cares? Like, pretty much my life is over.
And as soon as I got to college, I had a total breakdown and I became suicidal. Just fell apart, couldn't function, became suicidal. And I had to come home, and I ended up spending a year in a mental hospital. And to be 17 and to wake up and find yourself in a mental hospital and realize you're mentally ill is just about the most devastating thing that could ever happen to somebody. And I was very suicidal. I thought my life was over. I would be lying in bed and I hear a gunshot go off in the room below me. The terror was when he beat my mother up, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I thought he'd kill her. And when he'd beat her up, there'd be a gun there. That was the most terrifying.
I remember when my brother finally had a mental breakdown, he came at me with a knife. I must have been like 9 or 10 years old, and he just went berserk. And luckily, in those days, our front door is always open. So I was able to run out that door. Otherwise, he may have taken my life, because he just went berserk in the house. And I remember the police came. I remember an ambulance coming and taking him away in a straitjacket. And he was just, just yelling. And it was a very scary thing to see my brother like that. And what made things difficult for me is that in a matter of, I believe, a month and a half, he came back into the house. He was at Kaneohe Mental Hospital, but apparently he was released. He was on medication, and my father told me, don't worry, he's not going to hurt you. But, I can never forget that. So rather than try to sleep at night, I would roam the neighborhood. And I wouldn't come home till like 2 o'clock in the morning until I knew he was asleep, because I was afraid he was going to kill me in my sleep. And again, this had another negative impact on me, because I used to go to sleep, even if he's asleep, scared and shaking. And this shaking syndrome lasted into my 20s, where I would just shake, because of that fear of he's going to kill me in my sleep.
My mom had a gambling problem, and she'd been gone for a couple of days, and so, she can come home at any time. But anyway, my dad was home, and we were all sleeping, and I woke up, and I heard my mom. And so I was so excited. I was like, all right, mom's home. I missed her. I haven't seen her for a couple of days. So I went to go see what she was doing. And it's like, I want to say 1 o'clock in the morning. And she's running back and forth with a couple, she would fill water at the sink and then run into the bedroom, fill water. And I was like, what are you doing? And she kept telling me, get in the room, go away. And I didn't listen, because I was curious, of course. And I walked into the bedroom, and my dad was sitting there, and he had his hand to his head, and he had just blood dripping down his face, and it was just everywhere. And I was scared. I thought my dad was gonna die, and I had no idea what had happened. And my mom was just yelling at me to get in the room. So I went back in back in the room, and I kind of just sat there. I couldn't go back to sleep. And then I saw my mom and my dad walking, and I guess they made it to the driveway because I heard the car turn on. And so I ran out of the house to the front driveway, and I kind of like leaned into the window to look inside, and I saw my dad sitting there, and he had blood covering his face, and he's still holding his head. And he looks at me, and I'm just looking at him, and we had like maybe, I want to say 5 seconds of eye contact. And I thought my dad was gonna die. I thought I was never gonna see him again, and I was scared. I was really scared. And so my mom drove him to Polymomie Hospital, and she was arrested there, and my dad was transferred to Queens. My mom, she was upset, and I guess they were having a conversation in the bedroom, and she was upset. And so she walked out of the house, and the first thing she saw was a hammer. And she went back and she hit him on the head with it out of anger. Yeah, that was really scary. And to top it all off, when they left, I had gone in the room and I found it, and it was just like, I didn't even want to touch it. The hammer was on the floor, and there was blood all over the place, and there's blood on his pillow, and it was on the bed, and it was everywhere, and I didn't know what to do. The first time after getting out of the hospital, it was very emotional. I cried, my brothers and sisters cried, and of course my dad cried too, and that was the first time I ever seen my dad cry. And so it was very emotional. He had a hard time speaking. He had to stop and think, he had to like process in his brain what he wanted to say. I remember he had to go to rehab, and he had homework, and I remember coming over and I would help him spell cow or car or boat, and he had to learn how to, relearn how to read and write, and then I think the speech as well.
You need to figure out a way to help those kids and make them not be invisible. Our entire family was invisible. My mother and us kids. Nobody was paying attention. They really need to be comforted. And they really need to feel like somebody understands what's happening and won't demonize their parent.
I dreaded that I had a feeling that someday I would come down with the same mental illness as a mom and brother. And my sister said the exact same thing. She said she was scared that sooner or later she's going to develop what our brother had, and we would commit suicide. It was a real fear that we really were scared. And I think if I had a social worker at that time who could have explained to me in a loving way that that's not true, that you have a wonderful life ahead of you, and it's not going to happen to every member in a family. That would have been soothing for me at that time, because it would have helped my sister and I, because we both struggled. There was a lot of anxiety about that.
I think we needed help. I think we needed therapy. Us kids needed to be in therapy. I mean, I know I did. I know if I could have been in therapy and started talking about it instead of having it build up in me and kind of destroy the inside of me, that would have helped a lot.
My mom got out of prison. It was just, everything's okay now. We never got a chance to talk about it together. And in therapy, they sent us to therapy, but it was hard because things I would share, my therapist would share with my foster parents. And then when we got home, my foster parents would say, "Oh, why did you tell your therapist this and this and this?" And I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's supposed to be confidential. So when I would go to therapy, I wouldn't say anything. "How are you doing?" "Good." "Anything you want to share?" "Not really." Not really. Not with you anyway. But I think it would have been nice to have that family session, just to talk about things, maybe have some closure, say things that maybe I wanted to say, but not out in public, just with the people who mattered.
The bottom line, I just needed someone to love me. I just need someone to put their hands around me and to tell me it's okay, that I love you. I think that would have been the biggest thing for me, because no one ever hugged me. So I never knew what a hug was. If I had a really caring social worker and I saw in her or his eyes that they really wanted to help me and they just put their hands around me lightly to hug me, I think it would be one of the greatest things to feel.
I would just have liked my social workers to have shown more interest, or I guess show that they actually care. My social workers, I had a couple of them actually, not just one. I never saw them except for that first initial, like, hi, I'm your new social worker. Never saw them. They never came out. They're supposed to do, I heard they were supposed to do monthly visits. Never saw them. They never even called to see how we were doing. We're pretty much stuck in this home, and that was it. Like, I'm not trying to tell them how to do their job. It would have been nice to know that somebody cared, I mean, we're in foster care, and they're supposed to be the people who are taking care of us to make sure that we're okay in our foster home, and it just would have been nice to show that somebody cared. There's supposed to be that person in your life, right? Even if you switch to 10 different foster homes, they're supposed to be that stable person in your life. And like, just to show that, you're there, and like, if you needed to talk, you can call me up. Here is my card. Call me up if you have any questions, or if you have any trouble, or if you want to say hi. Come out to visit, see how we were doing, be more supportive, because we're in foster care. What if I wanted to join like volleyball or something? Be more supportive, or find out if there was money for me to buy a uniform or something. Like, in school, I never joined anything because my foster parents told me that we didn't have money. Like, how are we supposed to live a normal life when we have nothing? Like, it's just hard. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, just to show that you care, that you to show some support.
As we've seen, a parent with a mental illness can have a debilitating effect on their children. If you are involved with a family and suspect that something just isn't right and that the parent may have mental health challenges, the next step is to talk to the parent in a way that will help steer them towards getting treatment. Helping a parent get treatment can help their children. Often it can be difficult to talk to a parent about their mental health problems. They may not be aware that they have a mental illness, or they may be in denial. They may be afraid to get help and have had negative experiences with treatment in the past. Or they may think that if they do get help, they'll be considered crazy and they'll lose their children. So getting a parent to want to have treatment can be difficult. The purpose of this video is to show you how. We suggest an approach called LEAP, or LEAP. It stands for Listen, Empathize, Agree, and Partner. Listen. In the listening phase, ask questions in a supportive way and listen. Don't make judgments and don't give advice. Try to draw the parent out. Your goal is to gain full understanding of their experiences. And repeat back what they've said so they know that you've truly heard them. Empathize. It's hard not to empathize when you're hearing about all their pain. Express empathy for their feelings, their fears, and what they desire for their lives. Recognize their point of view and don't try to talk them out of it even if you disagree. Let them know that you really understand what they're going through and what they're feeling. Let them know a little about yourself and share similar experiences that you may have had. Use statements of approval and admiration. Also, you can try to validate them by saying, I would probably feel the same way you do if I were in your shoes. Agree. In the agree phase, you will try to find something to agree upon that will motivate the person to change by getting help. For example, they may simply want to feel better or become a better parent because they're afraid of losing their kids. Try hard to find something that you both can agree upon, even if it's a small thing, because this can lead to them saying yes to treatment, and then a door has been opened. When you come to some agreement about getting help, discuss it. Discuss any concerns they have, including any bad experiences they had with psychological help in the past. Correct any misconceptions. Partner. Now that you've come to an agreement, you begin to collaborate on a plan. What are the next steps? How can you help them find treatment? Can you actually make an appointment together with them, organize transportation, obtain childcare? Do they have questions about insurance that you could help with? Now you're on the way to helping the parent receive the treatment for their mental illness and thereby become a better parent to their children. Let's see the LEAP approach in action.
Who is it?
It's Mrs. Lewis. We had an appointment today. Can I come in?
Well, I'm not feeling very well.
Oh, it's okay. We just need to have a little talk. Can I come in?
Everything's fine. You don't have to come in.
Oh?
The kids are fine. They're in school. I'm keeping my life together. Everything's fine.
We really need to talk. I need to talk to you.
Here I am. Everything's fine.
You seem distracted.
My thoughts are like going really fast.
It must be hard. How are the twins?
They're fine, great, going to school and all.
I'm really concerned about the twins. I can see they're not in preschool right now. And I know this has happened in the past. It's a serious concern.
What do you mean, serious concern?
It's a concern that they're not in preschool, and today's a school day. And it's a concern that you won't let me in the house. Would you let me in the house so we can discuss this?
Okay, come on in, but it's a bit messy. I haven't been able to sleep. Okay, you're in the house. Do you want to sit down?
Thank you. So, how have you been feeling?
Just fine.
You seem a bit nervous.
Yeah, well,
You seem a little jittery. Why don't you have a seat?
yeah, I'm nervous. I have a lot on my mind.
You're under a lot of pressure. It must be tough.
It's real tough. That's why I've had a few problems.
It must be hard. What kind of problems?
Yeah, like I'm confused sometimes.
It seems like things are difficult for you. Being confused and feeling lots of pressure.
And I can't sleep.
I bet you'd like to feel better.
Yes, but there's nothing really matter with me.
But I wonder if you'd like things to be better around here. I wonder if you'd like to be a better parent to your twins and maybe get them to school more regularly.
They're going to preschool.
Well, they're here now. And we know that there's been problems in the past getting them to school. We checked in with the preschool and they said that there have been a lot of absences. So I think you probably want to do a better job at getting them to school.
You talked to the school?
Yes. So why don't we figure out how we can help you get them to school?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Let's talk about how we can help you. Have you made any calls to any of the psychiatrists on the list that I gave you?
No, not yet. I just don't know if it's...
But you're not feeling so good sometimes. Sometimes you're confused and nervous. There may be things you'd like to be able to do. Your thoughts are racing, you can't sleep. You want to be a better parent. You want your kids to feel good and to go to school. I think we can work together and find someone who can help you.
Yeah, but who?
Well, let's look at the list again. I can help you find someone, and I think that will help you be less confused and feel better.
But I'm not crazy.
No, of course you're not crazy. You just need some support to feel better and to do a better job with the twins.
How could someone help me?
Well, they can talk to you, maybe give you some medicine that can help you not be so worried and confused. They can help you figure out how to make life a bit better. I know a couple of people on the list I think are really good. Why don't we give them a call and try and make an appointment?
You'll help me do this.
Of course I will. And I can help you get transportation if you need it. And if you need childcare, I'll help you find it.
Well, okay. But I don't want anyone thinking that because I'm going to speak to the doctor that I'm crazy. Because I'm not. I just need help doing certain things. Sometimes.
That's right. I think it's really great that you're working with me to get you help.
Good morning, Mrs. Perez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I overslept.
Come in. How are you today?
Not too good.
Yes. You don't look too good. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Just the usual.
What's the usual?
Kind of tired. No energy.
Have you been sleeping enough?
I've been sleeping all the time.
What do you mean?
Well, I just can't seem to drag myself out of bed. I'm just tired all the time and I sleep all the time.
That sounds really hard.
Yeah.
How are things going with Kyla?
Okay.
It must be difficult for you to get Kyla to school.
Well, usually I can, but not always.
You must feel so bad when you feel so tired you can't get Kyla to school.
Yeah.
You're having a hard time of it, aren't you?
Yeah. It's just... It's so hard to even think straight sometimes.
Is there anything in particular that's bothering you?
Everything's bothering me. I can't eat. I can't keep my house clean. I can't do my laundry. I feel awful.
Sounds like you're having a hard time of it.
I can't stop crying. I feel so dead inside.
I know you don't want to feel this bad.
I feel so hopeless.
What do you think about getting counseling? You don't want to?
The one I used to see was, she's just too snooty. I don't trust her. I don't like her.
What if I could find someone that I know and that I think would be able to help you?
You know someone?
Yes, I do. And I think she'll help you not feel so bad. And when you don't feel so bad, you'll be able to be a better parent for Kyla.
But I'm afraid if I get help, then CPS will take Kyla away.
I think that getting counseling would be seen as a positive step for you.
Do you really think so?
Yes, I do. Would you like me to make some phone calls and then set up an appointment?
Well, maybe. Okay, if you know someone really good.
We hope these stories have given you a deeper understanding of the impact that mental illness can have on our children and how important it is for all social service providers to recognize the signs of mental illness in parents. We hope you'll join our efforts to help these parents get the help they need and in turn help our invisible children to be invisible no more. I'm Mina Sugimoto, and for Mental Health America of Hawaii, thanks for watching.